A year and a half ago, I bought this Cartier Tank Must SolarBeat in the large size, and it was after waiting 6 months to receive it. And when I finally got it, I thought, okay, here we go. Now these are finally becoming available. People have been waiting, and it's about damn time. But that's not what happened. Over the last 18 months, people have been able to get these, some people, but many more people have tried and have been denied. And that includes both large and small sizes of the SolarBeat watches. And potential customers have been told a confusing mix of conflicting information from authorized dealers and Cartier itself. So what the hell is going on? Let me back up. If you don't know what this watch is or why anyone cares, fine, you're better than me, I get it, you don't gotta be a jerk about it. The Cartier Tank is a classic, maybe the most classic watch in the history of the universe, of the world, and wristwatches. It's been around for over 100 years. There are a lot of variants of the Tank, but this design, this is pretty true to the original. For people of a certain disposition, the Tank is the archetypal dress watch, and I am of that disposition. I also happen to think that it's an awesome casual watch. I'll get back to that. In early 2021, Cartier announced the Tank Must SolarBeat watches in 2 sizes. This was Cartier's first ever light-powered watch. Cartier had done quartz watches for decades, but never one that was photovoltaic, powered by photons. Huge deal in the watch world, which is to say pretty meaningless, but cool. There is a small size and a large size, and this is the large, which ain't that large. Because in the context of Tank watches, this is historically large, larger than the original Tank, and the same size as the literal gold standard of Tank watches, the Gold Tank Louis. It's 25.5 millimeters across, 33.7 millimeters long, and 6.6 millimeters thick. The watch comes on a vegan leather strap, which is nice, but I prefer bracelets on my 7-inch wrist. I think bracelets on a Tank are super cool and maybe more versatile. Steel goes with everything. The polished bracelet is from Jackson Watch Band. I think it was around $40, and the mesh strap, I don't know where I got it from, but I know it was less than $20, and both straps are 19 millimeters wide. At the time I bought this watch, it was $2,970, and since then, Cartier has raised its prices a little bit, just like every watchmaker has. But you might never know the Tank costs more, because at least here in the US, you can't find this on the Cartier website. Even though Google has it indexed, you can get to the search results, but you can't get to the page. But in other countries, apparently you can. And when my buddy Once Upon a Wrist Shot contacted Cartier about this a few months ago, he received a message from Cartier North America that, yeah, the SolarBeat was discontinued. I posted that message on Instagram, which led to the inevitable comments like this. And this keeps happening. Every time I post something about the Tank SolarBeat on social media, there is one group of people saying, my AD told me it was discontinued, and another group saying, I just bought one and there are more coming in. What's behind this stuff? So I've heard a few things. First, I've heard that Cartier has had difficulty producing or sourcing the solar components, and so it's still really slow to make these watches, hence the limited availability. I've also heard that people are having trouble with their watches, and that they're not holding a charge or something, and so Cartier doesn't want to deal with making watches that are potentially not working well, so they decided to stop making them entirely. There was this interesting post on Reddit. Someone bought a SolarBeat secondhand with a warranty, but it stopped charging for them, and when they went to the Cartier boutique to see about getting it fixed, they were told it couldn't be repaired or even replaced. Eventually, the boutique let them swap the SolarBeat for a regular quartz Tank. I don't know what to make of this story. I believe it, but I suspect that the people at the boutique also couldn't get answers they needed from headquarters and didn't know what else to do but let them swap for a different watch. Because according to Cartier, the SolarBeat is still in production and still available, and here is what I mean by according to Cartier. In the last 2 months, I started contacting people close to the brand. Several authorized dealers, Cartier customer service, VIP clients, and finally, I got somewhere thanks to Bill Lind at Royal Jewelers in Massachusetts. Bill at Royal, who is awesome. Bill got in touch with Cartier, and Cartier said, give Evan the email address of our PR team. So I emailed and I explained I'm a Cartier customer, I own a SolarBeat, I have a modest and weird audience on YouTube and Instagram. People would love answers. And a week later, I got this response from a manager in public relations at Cartier. Hello, Evan. Thank you very much for your email. Indeed, the statement is that the production continues, but indeed at a lower pace. That was barely an answer, and it reads to me like the person knows that's not a real answer, but that's all they could do. So, of course, I followed up with more questions, screenshots, quotes, anecdotes from a lot of you. And nothing. I haven't heard anything since, and that was 3 weeks ago. What's interesting to me, though, is that the stories I'm getting from many of you, messages on Instagram, is that, yeah, the watches are becoming more and more available, and the large SolarBeat even showed up on the US website, available for purchase a couple weeks ago for the first time in over a year. So while I really don't have what feels like a definitive answer on what the hell is going on, most evidence points to the watches being in production and becoming increasingly available. In fact, from what I've heard from you, they've been mostly available in Europe for nearly a year. But still, the lack of communication, the fact that people working at Cartier customer service or in the boutiques, the fact that they don't have a single message, it's kind of terrible, it's embarrassing, and it's frustrating. As for my watch, it's been perfect. And everyone I personally know who has a SolarBeat, these watches have been working properly. It's possible that some people don't know that after a few days or weeks of not receiving light, the watch will go into a kind of standby mode, a hibernation. I actually do the same thing in the winter months, and I think some people might be confusing that for being broken. I mean, about the watch and me. And once you adjust the time or the watch receives light again, it starts up and it runs perfectly. My watch has been amazing, a few hours in direct light and it'll run for weeks sitting in a dark watch box. I've been really impressed with the capacity. And just as important, I love wearing it. I don't own a tux, and I think I own one suit, but I can't find it. I usually dress in Northwest formal attire. Jeans, a sweater, and shoes with only a few pine needles stuck to them. I'd show you my Northwest casual look, but then you'd have to verify your age to watch the video, it's a whole thing. And I just love how the tank looks with my daily uniform. It might sound contradictory, but I think there's a lack of pretension in this combination. I'm not going diving, I'm not a fighter pilot engaged in a vicious dogfight, I'm not a race car driver in the 1950s, I sit at a desk. This small quartz dressy watch is actually in line with my lifestyle most days a week. It's more honest than something like my beloved Omega Ploprof or Tudor Pelagos FXD. I suspect that's the case with a lot of watch collectors, and I know there's a lot of people that are still trying to get one of these watches, which is why it's so frustrating that there isn't more available. And because Cartier's lack of transparency and confusing communication, I don't know that I can recommend one of these watches. A watch I love, a watch that works great, that is everything I wanted it to be and more. I'm just not comfortable giving this watch the terrific seal of approval, which is not a real thing. I mean, I guess it is now. Cartier has put the mess in messaging, and I'm kind of angry. Maybe you can hear that, and I wouldn't be mad if I didn't like Cartier so much, or the watch so much. If I didn't think this watch had amazing potential, I wouldn't be talking about it. If I didn't think that this could have been the ideal watch for thousands of collectors, I wouldn't care. But I do, and this is killing me. And that's where things are as of this week. Indeed, the statement is that the production continues, but indeed at a lower pace. I don't know, maybe I'm done with Cartier for a while. I know that without my powerful support, the second largest luxury watchmaker could crash and burn, but that's a risk I'm willing to take.